A Republican in the Oklahoma state government is focusing, finally, on the most important issue facing America, furries in schools. I know what you're thinking. Wait, is this a video from 2021? Nope. They're still talking about furries in our schools. This is House GOP Representative Justin Humphrey. Here's his bill. Students who, quote, purport to be an imaginary animal or animal species, or who engage in anthropomorphic behavior commonly referred to as furries, will be barred from participating in school activities or curriculum. Humphrey also suggested that schools call animal control services to, quote, remove the student should their parents be unavailable to collect them. And I'm really getting mixed messages out of that, because in the beginning he's implying, you're not an animal, stop acting like an animal. But if you act like an animal, we'll treat you like an animal. I think that's the dumb logic that he's using there. But just to be clear, the Parental Rights Party believes, how dare you not discipline your kid for thinking they're a pangolin or something? I don't know exactly what it is. But man, there really are some hard lines beyond which your parental rights do not travel. So yes, he wants to collect them with animal control. And by the way, like he's not the only Republican that is still talking about this completely made up issue of furries in schools. At least 20 Republican politicians have claimed that schools are making accommodations for students who specifically identify as cats. The school districts have said that these claims are untrue. The main reason for that is that they're untrue. They're not based on literally anything. Viviana.
Well, considering public schools don't even accommodate for students who have like ADA disabilities and special needs, and I highly doubt that they're going this far to accommodate these furry students. But also, did you just quote Benedict Cumberbatch with the pangolins?
No, I don't know. What does he say? I'm just really into pangolins, honestly. Not into them. I mean, interested in them academically. I think that they're adorable. Why? What did Benedict Cumberbatch do with
Benedict
pangolins?
Cumberbatch did some nature documentary, but he couldn't pronounce penguins, so he was calling them penguins and pangolins.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look up that, because that sounds adorable. But no, I just think that they are delightful. And if you want to talk about actual issues of trafficking in this world, the trafficking of pangolins needs to stop. It's the most trafficked animal in the world, it turns out.
I need to like listen to these radio conservative shock jocks that are telling these stories, because where is this coming from about the furries? I know like my conservative family, they're like all hopped up on like trans rights and they're like so obsessed. And it's like, what are they listening to? What stories are they hearing? It can't all be Joe Rogan. Like there's gotta be some other stuff going on out there, right?
Well, part of it was Joe Rogan. He claimed that this was happening. Now he eventually backtracked. Joe Rogan deserves a lot of discredit for a lot of things, but occasionally he will admit when he's wrong, which by the way, I will remind you, does not reverse the damage, because that does not fix, like of all the people who heard the initial claims, they're not gonna hear the retraction. Anyway, so I have an issue with that. But yeah, no, it's utter nonsense. It seems super weird at first, but it's almost predictable, because what the Republicans need is they need a thing. A distraction. And the distraction is almost always something sexually subversive is going on. And it's almost always about kids. So we need something, and they're super focused on identity. The fact they say that the left is focused on identity, ain't nobody care more about identity in this country, in this world, than the right wing. And so you combine all of those things and you get, oh my God, they're turning our kids into cats. And it's a great conspiracy theory to spread, because it really can't be disproven, because they didn't have to prove it in the first place. It's not like they said you should worry about furries in schools because I have shots I took of kids dressed up like cats in 12 different elementary schools in 3 districts of Oklahoma. They didn't provide any evidence. So what are you supposed to provide as like the opposite of evidence? Like you're supposed to show kids not acting like cats, kids drinking milk out of cartons rather than little dishes? What are you supposed to do? That makes it kind of like the perfect conspiracy theory.
There's so many of them. And was there like a story of a kid who went to school and wanted to be a cat one day? And is there any sort of story based in fact that this came from? Like,
There's one thing. So there was like one school that as part of its like disaster preparedness thing, it had a little bit of kitty litter. It was not for a cat girl or something. And then that was it. And then they took off with there's kitty litter everywhere. And it's specifically because people are claiming, and let's also keep it real. This is part of the trans panic. This is the idea is everybody's being something else. And so like, I'm sure that they also like that it like sort of implicitly mocks the trans community as well. All of this has multiple
That makes
goals,
sense,
all of
the
them dark,
mocking, because if I feel like I'm a woman, then I feel like I'm a cat. They're equating that same ideology or that same, process. It's a stretch.
Yeah, they like the idea that that's how it works because they like the idea that the trans identity is a mere whim that you picked up because somebody said something and now you think that you're something else. They like to think that that's what it is, and pretending to believe that there are cat boys in elementary schools across America is a way of saying that.
To waste your time with legislation like this. It's like there are some really serious things going on, particularly with our public schools. And this is yet another tactic to sort of attempt to defund, to discredit, to criticize the work that public schools across the country are doing. And it is actually a very serious problem. We are losing students by the thousands and in our cities here in California and across the country. So public schools are under attack. This is another one of those things where they just want to start saying that they're doing this nonsense in schools and continue to pull the funding.
You're 100% right there. And that's the school-focused version of so much of politics is what can we distract you with so that nothing changes? That's like at the end of the day, that's what politics is for the right wing. We have all the money, everything's great for us. We don't want anything to change, so what do we distract the peasants with? And maybe it's furries one day and maybe it's a same-sex Disney kiss the next day, but all of it is designed to stay in power without having to govern, to have a government that does not govern effectively.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.